Welcome to the Lavonda Ray Show. I am your host, Lavonda Ray. And first of all, I would like to say thank you for anybody that's tuning in or that has tapped into my podcast. I would like to say thank you and I appreciate you. And if you have listened to my podcast before or tuned into my station before, you know that I'm coming from the Show Me State, where we come show in and show out. And of course, if you have any questions or any comments, feel free to leave it in the message box or even give a call because I believe that all voices matters. I will take the call and we can conversate or we can do whatever, or you can just sit in the chat room. Whatever makes you happy makes me happy. Stay positive. And as always, I would like to give a shout out to the man above for bringing us here, bringing us to wake up another day, to make a change, to make things better. So I would like to say thank you for that. And as you can see, voice is a little raspy, you guys, but as you can see from my topic, I chose fight or flight, but stay positive, you know. So we'll let that sink in for a minute. Fight or flight, but stay positive. Fight or flight. I think fight or flight is a decision that some of us, if not all of us, we're gonna have to make one day in our life. I mean, when I think about fight or flight, it can be a smart decision that we make, and or it can be a bad one. And I found myself in my life where I had to choose between fight or flight, and unfortunately, most of the times I chose to fight, and I don't mean like a physical fight, you know, because you do realize that. Well, I realize that if you can't fight for the rest of your life, you understand, because if you continue to fight and fight, you will grow tired eventually. But that's not the type of fight. I'm not talking about a physical fight. I mean like a mental fight. Have you ever had to just fight a thought in your mind repeatedly? You just have to fight that thought, and you know that with me, I can't run from my thoughts because as as I know that if you run from a thought, that thought eventually will come to a dead end. And you know, dead end has no outlet. There's no outlet for a dead end. So it's like if there's no outlet for a dead end, we have to do something with those negative thoughts because there's no way out to a dead end. And so we have to let those negative thoughts out that feed our brain with the negative thoughts and try to stay positive, you know, because we have to, I mean, and it's easier to say stay positive all times. But deep inside, that's hard when you are fighting a thought and then you have this quiet storm that nobody can see that you're fighting, you know? And we're fighting it and fighting it and fighting because nobody can see it because, of course, as we all know, in the world, you know, you can't tell somebody that you're feeling some type of way, you know, because you don't want to feel judged. You know, and as the world looks at you, they're definitely going to judge you, whether it's a good judge or a bad judge. But for because we have the ability to be able to speak our piece, and we want that so bad that when we don't have that, it's like I got to fight for my peace. And you know, I just because you know, at some point of our life, I think that everybody looks for a reaction, whether it's a reaction to make you smile, a reaction to piss you off. Because I don't know, I guess that's just how people are. So when you have a situation, regardless to when you have to fight or flight, you know, because for me, as a child, you know, you grow up and you don't really notice the negativity in people because all you think about as a child is the simple things, you know, I don't know, kid shit like friends and candies and birthday parties and shit, baby dolls, trucks and cars, shit like that, kid shit. But then, sorry, I light my blood. But then you you grew up and you start to grow, and then you, if you're blessed enough to live past 18 and then even make it to 21 and even 25, and you're blessed to live at that far because as everybody know, Sometimes everyone doesn't make it to the golden age of 18 or to the milestone of 21, but if you are blessed to see that, and even blessed to see life 25 and more, you start to see that there's a fine difference between the way you thought when you was, I don't know, 5 years old, 12 years old versus being 12 versus being 18 versus being 30. Because, you know, as we get older, life can take you down a deep, dark path, like literally, and temptation is everywhere. So, what do you do when you're placed to a position or a situation to where, okay, because really, fight or flight is, I guess you could say, it's almost like everyday life. You know what I mean? I know like I said, temptation is everywhere. And then why does the world to me, the world seems so much bigger when you're out here living on your own and you're out here trying to make a way and understand what life is really about and understanding you, because to understand life, I feel like you have to understand yourself. And me, myself, I'm very hard on myself. I try to be not so hard on myself, but it's hard because I'm living in a society where you have to almost have this image, whether it's an image at work, and then you go home and you cry your fucking eyes out, or but you have to keep that image on, and that goes again with wearing different masks and fight or flight. Like I have to go into this job and I have to fight to have a smile. Every even though I don't say so. No matter, I feel like even if you're trying to find that inner peace, because inner peace is within yourself, and you're looking for it, but everywhere you look, you can't find peace, and you're just like you're drowning. And then once you start to drown, that's where I feel like depression starts to set in, because I don't know, something happens to me. It's like some people would ask, well, what does depression look like? And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor of any kind. I'm not a judge. I'm not a genie in a bottle. All I have is a voice, and I speak how I feel. To me, fight and flight is also in the same circle as being when you're feeling depressed. And what does depression look like? If somebody was to ask me, and I'm asking myself, so I guess if I was to ask me, or if anyone was to ask me, what does depression look like? And from a person, from me, who has currently dealing with it and has dealt with it, and I finally have a way to balance it that I would like to share. That's why I came up with that topic, fight or flight, because you know you have to be able to balance it, because it's not like it's hard to live into the society and live also with a mental illness, whether you've been diagnosed or not, because you don't necessarily have to be diagnosed to know that you're depressed. I have to say that. But from me, depression, because if you've tuned into a show that I've had previously, I talked about how sometimes I look at life in different colors, like my relationships, and anytime you want to go back and hear that particular show, it's under it hurts. It's okay to hurt sometimes, and it is okay to hurt sometimes. It's okay. It's an emotion. And in that particular show, I spoke on different colors, phases that my relationship went through. But with depression, what it looks like to me is, if I based it on a color base, to me it looks gray. And gray is, for me, when you think about gray, this is what comes to my mind, and maybe you could agree, and maybe you don't. Maybe you don't agree, but gray to me is like a dull, dry, quiet spot, and sometimes it just feels like it's bad, but it's gray. So with gray, there's still a little hope there, you know what I mean? But it's still that feeling of dryness, and you still feel a little dull about whatever life made you feel at that moment. And then when it's bad, to me, depression feels like pitch black, which is, for me, is sadness. you know um, I feel like I don't I want to be by myself. It's dividing myself. It's being closed off. And so that's just a reflection of what depression looks like to me now when I go away from the colors and I get into the feeling, the mental state of depression. Because after the colors, it's like it's levels for it. For me, for everybody is different, and so it's nothing to be afraid of, or it's nothing to be ashamed of, because it happens. I feel like that depression looks like somewhere either in your childhood that something happened, and maybe nobody never noticed it, and that plant got planted and it started to grow as you became an adult, and then life events just started to just make things not so easy. You know what I mean? Like, even as hard as even looking for a job every day, trying to raise your children, trying to be a good girlfriend, trying to be a good husband or wife, that alone carries a lot of weight. And then having to live amongst millions of other personalities and people and still maintain that can also, to me, bring a lot of depression. So sometimes what I do, and I don't know, it may help you too. Sometimes what I do is I feed myself. I feed myself. I say, you know what, today's a good day. And even if it's raining outside, I'm saying, you ain't gotta look in the mirror. Because some people say, look in the mirror and tell yourself that you don't gotta look in the mirror. You may not want to look in the mirror, but I walk around my house and I say, things feel a little gray right now, but it's not gonna last forever because this is not permanent. So I don't want to go out into the world and be sad, because guess what? Life is too short to be sad. People are gonna be sad when you die. I mean, just because that's exactly what happens. Is we They say celebrate death. Yes, we do to a degree, but you're still sad when it happens, no matter what. And so why make yourself sad, and not make yourself, but because if you feed yourself, that's gonna be okay, and then I can get through this, and that maybe this just happened because this is the way it happened, but we can't always change things that happen. We can just learn from it and move on. So once you plant that seed inside your heart and it starts to grow, and you grow it with lots of water thoughts. I don't mean watered down thoughts like a plant. You water yourself down with thoughts like, I can do this. I don't care, even if it's just a little drop at a time. Just like a little drop at a time. It all makes sense. And then you take that feeling and you carry it into your everyday life and into this everyday world. Because guess what? The one thing about mental health is some people don't know that, but you're not alone. Like, I mean, you're not alone. And it's just, depression can look like standing up, staying up for hours. Depression also could look like having multiple sex partners because you're looking for love in all the wrong places. Or maybe depression could look like inside of a bottle, or maybe drugs, because a lot of times, and just speaking widely, a lot of times when depression sets in, that's where substance abuse sets in, and then now you have this substance problem with drugs, and not only do you have that problem, now you have a problem of depression. And then here's the thing about that is that you you get this addiction now, and then you have this depression that also led you to your addiction. Then you try to go get help, and then it's like you start to get judged because now they're not looking at that you're depressed and you're trying to get off and looking at your addiction. That's a whole nother story. But you understand? And then that's where also again where fight or flight comes in. Like, do you stay and fight with all these things that people are saying about you because it's not true, because they're judging you and all these jackets is on you because you are depressed, and so it's like, I'm going to flight from this situation. I'm going to leave it alone and not take care of it. So you run. And then you run and you run and you run and you run and run and you find yourself getting very, very tired. Because even track stars get tired. So now it's like you got to fight. You have to fight with your mind. You have to fight with your stamina and be determined. Because the world will tear you down if you allow it. But we have to live in this place. I mean, depression looks like a lot of things. You know why depression looks like all these things? Because depression looks like humans, because we are human beings. That's what depression looks like. It looks like us. And, sometimes depression can look like putting yourself into your job. Maybe you work and you work and you work and you work and you work. You know what? Because I've done that. I've done that. I have put myself writing and writing and writing and writing and just going in my office and just writing and writing and writing, or getting on my podcast and speaking and speaking and speaking, or just different events that I had done personally to keep my mind from altering other things because I was feeling some type of way. And then once you're done with all that work and you lay in your bed at night, you done ate your food, if you're able to eat something, that's when the mindful thoughts come in. Because whatever you lay with, you may dream about. So if you lay down and you done did all this work and then nobody knows that, you're having this quiet storm, your children don't know, your spouse doesn't know, they don't understand why you're so fucking angry all the time, and you don't really know how to tell them. And, or even your boyfriend or even your girlfriend, because you don't think they understand. So, and that's hard, because that too can bring problems down, because then I don't want to tell you what's really going on, but I really want to tell you, but I don't want you to judge me. So it's a double sword. So you take that when you lay down at night, and if you have a belief of any kind, that is the most positive way, one, over your mind, is to elevate with whatever you believe in, a higher power, to embracing that. And if you don't believe in that particular higher power, embrace yourself and make yourself that, that feed yourself those inner thoughts. I'm okay. Look, I worked my ass off and I did better than I did the day before. And I'm not, and maybe I worked a little bit too hard. So I tell yourself, I'm not going to work as hard the next day. And then maybe, if when you start to tell yourself that you can do better, you'll feel better and you'll move better. So, to deal with depression is step by step. I'm not, I'm still dealing with, my ups and my downs. And sometimes medication works and sometimes it doesn't. Because you can meet a lot of people that say, hey, I'm not fucking with any drugs. Don't give me that shit. I don't want to walk around here and be a zombie. I'm not messing with any of those drugs. You got people like that. And then that's great. And that's where what? Your mind comes in. Man over matter. So, and because guess what? At the end of the day, depressed or not, we are all unique people, man, woman. We're all unique, despite of our circumstances. We were all here for a reason. Now, whether you discover your reason, that's something that you have to dig deep inside to try to discover what is your reason, because everyone has a reason being. Whether your reason might be to be a bona fide killer, I don't know, or your reason is to be rich as hell, but everybody has a reason to be alive, to live. Everyone deserves to have their voice heard, whether it's heard through speaking motivation speak green, or if it's heard through however you decide to do your voice. Voices matter. Even people who can't hear, they have, they can do on silent. Look at me, I'm fumbling on. Oh yes, oh my gosh. Sign language, but they verbally are not saying it, but they're saying it with their words. So everybody deserves to be heard. And even when you're fighting to smile, you know, and you, despite of whatever occasion, despite on how you feel on the inside, just notice the change that will come within yourself. Because once change come within yourself, the outside things become a little bit easier to deal with, and events in your life become a little bit more easier to deal with. So I'm speaking from experience. So they say, and I believe that. So if there's something in life that you want, you're determined to get it, you deserve it. Because in order to grow, you have to let go of what? Negative thoughts and negative people and negative energy. Because what happens is, if you're trying to, you know, reach a certain level in your life, you're not going to be able to prosper at any point in your life if you do not keep out negative people places, or energies because they're going to either take away what you're trying to get, or basically take away your blessings. You know, and you don't want no one to take that away. So in order for no one not to take it away, you have to know, one, that I can level this out and it's going to be all right, because it's always a little light. It may not be a bright light, you know, but understand that change is something that we can all do, because if you wake up the next day, you can make change. And that if we are individuals that are suffering with a mental illness, it can be stabilized. Like there's things, like there's groups. You'd be surprised how many people have the same type of situations, or similar, or feel the same way that you do. You'd be surprised how many people have some of the same energies, some of the same issues. And then you get all those same individuals in the room, and you start to share stories, or however, because there's some individuals that don't want to go out in public, but in order to take that step, is one day at a time. It's one day at a time. Stay positive and learn how to stand confident, as they say, with your back against the wind. And always remember that fear, for me. So I don't want to sound like I know everything. I just know what I know. That to me, that fear always it travels within. So to live a full, abundant life, you have to realize that if we change our mindset, then we could change the world. Well, not the world, but we could change your world. You could change your world, that you live in, to become more happier. Because, like I said, you don't want to. No one wants to live in darkness by choice. Even if your circumstances is where you just feel you're in a situation and there's nothing you can do at that moment, there's something positive out of that. It has to be. It has to be something positive, something. So if you can take something positive out of your day every day and say, I did this positive, that's a good thing. Because life's all about unexpected things. We have good things that happen to us, and we have, unfortunately, bad things. Excuse me, guys. That happen to us too. But no matter what, we have to still fight. We still have to wake up every day, because guess what's not going to change? Every day that you wake up, the sun's still going to come out. You know, you can't stop that. So life still goes on, is what I'm saying. And the blessed thing about life, too, because there are good things about life. Like for mental illness, you have doctors and psychiatrists and therapists that help people talk their way through the things. And so that's a blessing, because you have someone that doesn't know you to give you a biased opinion. Because as you know, I mean, sometimes if you are going through something and you talk to a family member, they may not understand it all the way because they know you, versus someone who's never met you a day in their fucking life, and then you come across their office, and you have some people that generally care about what you're going through, and then you have some that don't give a shit. They just want you to get the hell out their office. Just what's wrong with you? Get out of office. You need some medicine. Because they're humans, so you have to think about it. You go into the doctor's office, and it's hard when you have a mental dealing with mental illness, because people judge. It doesn't matter. You can say they don't, but they fucking do. Because a lot of times they think that a lot of people that are mentally having mentally issues, that they seeking drugs, or they're gonna react this way and that way, and it's really not that. But you don't play with that. You take it very seriously. You know, so you never know no one's fight, and I believe that if you love yourself and try to feed yourself and stay positive. It's so much easier. I know that, because it is so hard listening to listen to me. Me. I'm not famous or anything. I'm just trying to make a way, and in order for me to stay positive, I do positive things, And then I realized that once I start to do these things every day, if you do something positive every day, like I said, step by step by step, like say you do something positive every day, or maybe you do the same positive thing every day for 5 days and then try another positive goal and try another, and then it just like builds up like steps. And you climb them up, climb until you get to the top, and then you look back like, sheesh, look what I've done. Like, I can't say that depression can be beat, but it can be handled. And when it comes to fighting or flighting, like I said, fighting or flight, I kind of said that. I don't know what I just said a minute ago, but when it comes to fight or flight, fighting doesn't always mean, you're getting in the ring and you're knocking somebody's grill out, you know, uh, that'll age the fuck out you and fighting all the time and it make you tired. But fighting mentally, physically, and emotionally, and still going into the world, we can do it. Like, it's a battle, but that's why they call it that. Because, what battle do you know that you didn't have to stand up for if it's something that you really wanted? Because a mind is a beautiful thing. Like, our minds allow us to think certain events because it's our minds. We hate it sometimes. Like, why do I think like this? Why? Why? The same reason that you can ask yourself, why do you think like that? Is the same energy you ask yourself, why not to think like that? You have to say, oh shit, there I go, having those thoughts. So I have to retrain them. Because, I've also realized that if you sat and stool on something repeatedly, and maybe that it hasn't even happened and you think that it's going to happen, do you know if you think about it repeatedly over and over and over and over and over and over, it might come to pass. So if you just imagine, if you tell yourself over and over and over and over and over and over again, I can do it. I'm not going to allow myself to think it negative. I'm going to stay positive. Then you can take those thoughts and feel so much better on the inside. So with closing thoughts, I would just like to say that I appreciate anyone and everyone that's listening or later listens, and life is about a fight or a flight, good decisions, bad decisions, but at the end of the day, decisions that you make will follow you for the rest of your life. And, you know, just always know that you're worthy, you're worth it. You can do anything and you can change anything as long as you can wake up and you got air. It doesn't matter if you can walk or you can't walk, you still are alive and you matter. Your voice matters. So just realize that life is short and we got to live it abundantly. Don't take people for granted. Don't let anyone take you for granted. And if you don't know you're taken for granted, I will have another show on that later down the road. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I'm not a genie in a bottle. None of us is perfect. I'm not any of those things. I just have a voice, and my voice matters. And everybody else's voice matters. So, with that being said, I would like to say have a blessed evening.